Alex Guberman, what's up, man? Welcome back to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's good to be back. I enjoyed this last time, so
Yeah,
I'm
me
pumped.
too. Me too. That's why I wanted to have you back on. And for those listening, Alex is the host of E for Electric. I'm going to call it the #1 YouTube channel for electric cars. You don't need to fact check me on that. Just go with it, all right?
My mom would agree with you.
So me and your mom know it's the #1 channel. Well, if it's not the #1, it's an amazing channel for electric car stuff. And so I actually just went on my first road trip in an electric car in my Tesla. Remember last time I said my white Tesla, and you're like, well, what else? And I was like, what's white? And
Yeah.
that shows my knowledge of cars. But the road trip, it was definitely extended by the charging stops. But
Right.
I kind of expected that. And besides for that, it was amazing because I dangerously kind of I was watching the NBA game up on the screen on the iPad, on my laptop on my lap, and my phone in my hand. I was just like chilling. So that
Right.
part was great with the driverless stuff. But the stops added a little extra, like 4 hours on a trip from Charleston to Philadelphia. But I expected that. But when in real time, it was kind of annoying, like 87%. 90%. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when I had my Tesla and I bought a Chevy Volt specifically
Right.
for the long-term trips, even though it does use gas, and I'm a huge electric car guy, but I also am a businessman and I can't have, I can't drive a 5-hour trip in 7.5 hours. Especially when I go to LA, it's a matter of getting in, at 2 a.m., which is acceptable, or 4:30 a.m., which is not.
Yeah.
So that's something that does need to be fixed if
Right.
we want to, advance and sell these electric cars to everybody, because that's the
Yeah.
biggest. That's annoying, right?
It's a big difference. And like I kind of knew it going in. But normally for my day-to-day life, I don't have to travel that much. So ever since I got the car, this was the first road trip I had. It was the first time I used an outside charger. I just charge it in my garage. And dude, as I've had the Tesla now for like 6 months or so, I can't imagine ever going back to the electric part is cool, but the driverless part is like gotten really good. And I remember last time we were talking, it didn't stop at red lights yet, but that's been updated. It stops at the red lights now, and it's working pretty well. And now, like, you don't have to hit the button. That you can just kind of go through the green lights. It's improving and it's amazing. But you got the Chevy Volt.
I have a Chevy Volt. I ended up driving my my part-time commuter car full-time because I had this brand that they were sponsoring my channel, and I was really just in love with the brand. It was called Byton, and I was hoping to get their car once they started making cars. But unfortunately, they scaled back to where they're either just going to go belly up or they're just only going to operate in China. So now I'm shopping for my next fully electric car, and I keep changing my mind. Like last time, I just saw the Volkswagen ID4, which hasn't been unveiled yet, but I got to see it ahead of time, and I'm like,
You got the inside track, right?
yeah, so, they do media days, right, for us. So they want us to see it and take all of the footage. And then once they're unveiling, we can release our videos and articles. So I got to see it last night, and I was quite surprised by how much I liked it. So now I'm thinking because it's going to be on the market already in just, by December, in 3 months here in the US. And I was like, whoa, so it added to the ever-growing the list of cars I want to get. So, I think it's all going to come down, to the pricing and the deal I'm going to get from them, because there's a lot of good electric cars now.
Yeah. So, like, as an expert, I know you're deep in the electric car industry. I want to talk about some other stuff, but we'll start with the electric cars. Like, for the average consumer, like, what do they need to know about electric cars right now? I mean, they're improving. I've heard some news about this Nikola motors in the news. Like, what does the average person need to know, you think, about electric cars?
Yeah, so average person needs to know nothing about Nikola. And right now, the reason you heard about Nikola is because there's a lot of drama going on with Nikola.
Drama.
And drama is not cars. Yeah, I mean, they've, they obviously are on a blacklist of all Tesla fans because they're suing Tesla for a trademark or patent infringement. And, Tesla is really cool Tesla army, as we call them, they're really cool about when Tesla's suing somebody for no reason. But when somebody's suing Tesla for no reason, they don't like it. So Tesla army is very not good on Nikola. But also Nikola just went public. And they also just got a big investment from General Motors. Not in terms of money, but General Motors now owns 11% of it. Now, as that happened, this research group, who's also a short seller of Nikola stock, has published a report about all the stuff that Nikola did that wasn't true, really. And even though it didn't really matter, but the fact that they kind of consistently lied about what their videos were about, it definitely raised a lot of concerns, and just basically a lot of people believe they're fraud. But they're not making electric cars right now. They won't be making electric cars for a while, and they won't be making electric cars for you for a long time.
Because of the lawsuit, because of like the lawsuit and stuff like that,
because
how far production?
No, that's because they just started. They originally were going to make the semi trucks. So they're, now they might be producing an electric pickup truck, but we're still talking about 2-3 years maybe, right?
Okay, because I've been seeing a lot more Teslas on the street, but
that's because you know.
I was thinking if it's because I have one, do I notice it more?
Yeah, exactly.
But I always wanted one. So I always noticed them before. So I thought about that, but I do actually think I've been seeing more.
So Nikola should not concern an average consumer.
And I'm not going to see any out on the street at all yet.
No, Nikola, no.
None.
No, they're just a startup that's still figuring out, how they're going to make these cars. So the funny thing with this deal with the GM, Nikola has been fighting all these accusations that they don't have anything, right? And they keep saying, no, we have all this technology, But the deal with GM essentially is going to allow Nikola to use GM's electric technology and hydrogen technology.
Okay.
And the question is like, if you guys have all this amazing technology, why did you just give out 11% of your company in exchange for the technology you already apparently had? So, so again,
you said they went public, right?
Yeah, via reverse merger. So that's a little different, right? So
would you invest in them though? Like, do you invest in?
Well, I don't invest in stock.
Stocks?
First of all, I don't invest in stock because I don't play lottery. Also, but I also, as an independent journalist, it would be unethical for me to invest in anything related to what I do because, like I said, I have a lot of inside information. I get to see these cars and sometimes drive these cars ahead of time. I don't know if it's illegal, but it's definitely unethical.
Okay. Yeah, I bought like five shares of Tesla when I got my car just for fun. And that has skyrocketed. That's maybe like $7,000 or something like that.
It is amazing.
It's just split. You think that is like going to be sustainable? Like, as far as this is just hype around Tesla, like I know they have their army. When you say the Tesla army, like I know what you're talking about. Like they have a huge fan base, right?
Yeah. So, listen, I can't talk about stock because I never understand stock. Like our country, like US, right?
Yeah.
And like many economies are, in the middle of pandemic where unemployment is high, we're probably going into the recession, and yet our stock market is one of the best, highest levels. That's complete disconnect with reality. So I think Tesla stock is in disconnect with reality because Tesla makes such a tiny fraction of cars of any other major manufacturer. So I don't like, it's like, what do you think? Like it's this, to me, asking this question is the same as asking, Alex, what do you think the lottery numbers are going to be this weekend?
I used to be a sports gambler. I'm not at all anymore. I think gambling's stupid. I hate the lottery. But I feel like stocks, it's definitely like that if you day trade and try to make money by next week. But like, I'm planning on like holding these 5 shares of Tesla like forever. And I mean, if you bought Apple or Google, like when they first started, like you would have a huge payoff. So I think it's a little different than the lottery because if you believe the company is going to be the future of the world or huge in 20 years, then that is going to go up. So that's the way I like to look at it. It's like just a long-term investment where I just kind of like forget about it. And in that case, I think Tesla's a good one because I mean, electric cars are the future and they're the best one. So I'm holding on to it.
Yeah. Listen, I really hope so it does well, but the company has too much of a very inconsistent track record to believe that this is going to be a steady stock in the future. And tech stocks in general are not very steady, right? You want something steady, you invest in an S&P 500 index or a company that's General Motors, or Apple, that's proven to be steady. So I don't know if I would say Tesla is a long-term investment, but again,
I just got 5 shares. And
all right. With a car. I think you're a happy camper right now. Sure.
I am, definitely.
Yeah.
And Elon, your boy Elon. I saw him driving like one of the competitor cars or something like that. Was that which one was that he was driving?
So it was the one that I just saw yesterday, and also the one's called the one that we're talking about is called ID4. That's a small SUV, all electric, and the other one that he drove was an ID3, which I saw the unveiling in Frankfurt in September, and they're delivering it now. It's kind of a 4-door hatchback, very European car. So he drove both of them, but the video that you saw was him driving the ID3, the one that's available in Europe.
Okay, do they have the driverless?
Yeah, they're not really driverless. They have some driver assistant options, but not. Whenever you use driverless, it's very dangerous.
Right, the levels of it.
Tesla is much better at it, but even Tesla is not really.
Dude, that's my favorite sound in the world. Double tapping that little thing goes boo-doo.
Yeah,
and the blue lines come up. I'm like, For like 2 weeks, I was just like literally doing this like on purpose. Yeah, I'm a little more used to it now. And guess what I got? I got one of those little weights. It seemed a little shady. I bought it from this like shady website.
Yeah,
and it was like I had to sign something, and like it got sent to me by a lawyer. And like the thing I bought, the website had a different name for what it was. It was like a shady purchase, but it's the little weight that like you don't have to keep your hand on the wheel. And I mean, I'm not sleeping or anything like that, but it's definitely been nice.
Oh, totally. I agree. It's annoying that you consistently have to pay attention to the system that's supposed to let you have your attention back. But it's funny you mentioned it yesterday. I was driving from that event, and we saw, me and my sister, we saw a Model 3 next to us, white, by the way, and the guy literally had a water bottle, like a large one, stuck, into the wheel, so he could So it's kind of a cheap version of what you probably paid, like $100 for. Yeah,
I think it was like $250 or something like that. But
$250.
Yeah, it's $250.
Wow.
Maybe it got ripped off, but dude, I mean, it was worth it. I don't care. That road trip.
But you can just, I'm starting to question your investment practices because you can just use a 99-cent water bottle apparently, and you're.
But you know what else? You know what else it has on the back of my phone? It's got this little magnet, and I can magnet it right to it. So it's 2 for 1. It's a 2 for 1. Like I can watch my phone and it's the weight. So maybe that's the difference why it's more. But it's worth it, man. I would have paid twice that, just like as long as I don't have to replace it or anything. But it's been absolutely great, and I love it.
Yeah.
But your boy Elon, like he's been. What do you think about that Neuralink stuff he's been working on?
Honestly, it's not the stuff that I geek out on. It's interesting what he's doing. I think a lot of people were a bit disappointed. They thought that maybe he has something more grand to announce. I think it's great that he's doing it, right? Like a very outside of the box technological approach to bioscience.
Yeah.
I think you can trust Elon that he will hire one of the best people in the business and will push them to get there. But whenever, see, that's the thing. Whenever, on one hand, Elon runs, Tesla in a very, I would say, borderline irresponsible manner, and yet he runs SpaceX. Well, I guess it's because it's actually not him who runs it. That's they're like everything has to be perfect there, right?
Right.
So whenever he approaches a new venture, I'm always a little bit nervous because if he's going to be embedding stuff into your brains or driving your cars, the margin of error there is about 0. And Tesla right now is still struggling to figure out how not to have too big of panel gaps, in their cars. So, I hope there are different quality assurance standards there. But I do like the fact that he is a new, fresh player there, and he is, they're obviously making some progress because this can really cure some horrible, horrible things that.
Right. I mean, that's like the first thing it's supposed to do, right? Like cure like blindness.
I think Alzheimer's is the first thing.
Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. Like, and then, so the healing stuff is great for people who have problems, but then isn't there like, would you put the chip in your brain if it made you like 10 times smarter or like?
Well, so that's the thing. What does it mean smarter?
That's,
right?
I mean, smart is like the hardest word to define.
Right.
World,
So,
yeah.
and sometimes, it's, yeah, sometimes
I saw something that like it might be able to play back memories or something like
yeah,
that.
and that would be cool because I have a horrible memory actually. But I mean, but that's another thing, right? Like I like the fact that my memory is bad because, like, for example, I don't hold grudges really.
That's good.
And I don't remember a lot of things that were, not important or not as happy, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's funny. I'm a very positive person, and I always have noticed over the years that like I erase negative memories from my head, like by accident. Like someone will tell me a story about this time we got in trouble with the cops, and I was like, what? And I'm like, no. When was this? Like I literally like forget them, but I maybe wouldn't choose to recall those memories. Like how would that even work? So I want to recall like maybe a meeting I had with somebody and I wanted to remember what they said or something, but like,
right.
it's
So
just
that's
weird.
the question, right? Is this
Yeah.
going to be like, like when you have an archived directory on your computer and you're looking for pictures of you and your dog,
Yeah.
and then you have to pass through your ex-girlfriends and I don't know, parole hearings, whatever you got going on there, right?
Right.
So it's like, do you have to encounter all of the memories because they're right there?
Yeah. And I can't even imagine like how you would see the memory. Would it be in your brain? Would it be on a screen? Like, how do you recall a memory from this thing?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming it will be exactly like we do it now, right? For example, I say, hey, remember that weekend last year when we did this? And you would query that, except for right now, your memory might be, you could be tipsy and you don't remember half of it, right? But in this case, it will be much more vivid. You'll be able to remember more. And so I think that's would be how it would be.
That's fascinating, man. Like who knows? It could be like dangerous or who knows different ways people could use it, but it's a really cool technology. Like I feel like I wouldn't be the first person to put the chip in my head, but like I might be the first like 10%. Like I mean, assuming it's safe and there's enough case studies where like it was all good, like I don't know. I would do it probably.
I think some of my ex-girlfriends have that chip already because they were able to remember very specific things that I did in a very specific times 5 years ago. So there might be already test trials going on.
How many ex-girlfriends you got?
I actually have 3 long-term relationships. So if we're counting real girlfriends, then yes.
You got one now?
No. Actually,
single man. He's on the market, ladies.
It is the longest I've been single, and so 2 years ever since I moved to Sacramento. As a matter of fact, I believe that this is not the dating scene for me. As a matter of fact, I drive to Oakland from Sacramento every weekend for the dating scene because unfortunately Sacramento is not the place.
What's the difference? What's the difference between Oakland and Sacramento?
Well, so Oakland is just closest large city in a Bay Area, Oakland. I mean, mainly it's the culture. So here, just to break it down in a kind of a nutshell, people don't need other people, and they treat other people with a lot of disrespect and just ignorance, right? You can even see, Sacramento is just like, you can have somebody down the street driving in a car past your house, and even though it's also their neighborhood, they will just toss their to-go box that they just finished in the car right out of the window on the road. You see a lot of people here parking in 2 spots at the same time in the crowded lots. But in dating, it usually means that you'll be stood up on a date a lot. The person won't look the same way. They will ghost you, which hasn't happened to me that much in the past. And now it's almost the norm. Yeah.
But you get stood up on dates?
All the time. So I don't even, so when I schedule like first dates, I don't actually schedule them anywhere outside of my regular schedule and the places I already would be. So if I know I'm going to be at a coffee shop at a certain time, that's where I'm doing it. Because if she doesn't show up, which the chances of that are like 80% statistically, then I haven't really taken anything out of my day. I was going to be there and having.
Why do you get stood up so much? You're a handsome guy. You got your channel. Like you're talking to important people. You like, what's the deal?
Because I don't think here women really need men in general, and it also translates into like friends. Like I don't think people here like need friends or partners. It's quite weird. I gotta tell you, you probably like whoever's listening to me right now is probably like, this guy, there's no such thing as a place on earth where people don't want to date, don't want to have sex, don't want to have friends. Like,
yeah,
but there is.
It's Sacramento, California. That's the one.
Sacramento, California, right?
The one place where you can't get a date is where you live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you when you do get a date, then you got all kinds of other issues with. So like for example, I don't want to date a girl with tattoos, and 95% of people here have tattoos, and I don't mean little butterflies somewhere like here or we're talking about your sleeves and
I actually kind of agree with that. Like too many tattoos is like a little much.
Yeah,
that's a hard line for you. Just no major tattoos.
No major tattoos. Or just for so many reasons.
You seem like you might be picky. What other rules do you have?
Well,
5'2" this way. No.
I mean, I feel like my bar is relatively low in terms of have a job, right?
Okay.
Well, so I don't want to date a girl with kids. Obviously, that's just for a single guy with no kids. No tattoos. Have a job. I do have to say, a lot of people here have mental illness issues, like a depression or bipolar. I mean, like quite a few things that I'm who doesn't have, or maybe sometimes even understand, or how to deal with another person. I obviously, that's not for me. And then, so this is a weird rule. The girl needs to want to be in a relationship, and you would like normal people like you probably go like, all girls want to be in a relationship. Not in Sacramento. Not in Sacramento.
Interesting. Yeah. That's actually like one of the things I wanted to ask you about was just California. And like you're already giving me some good insight, especially on Sacramento. I understand it's a big state and there's different cultures across it. But like your other boy, Joe Rogan, is kind of leading the charge of like this getting out of California thing. And like, do you see, is that like for somebody who lives in California, are people in California like kind of sensing that? Because it's, for me on the other side of the country, kind of seems like there's definitely like a trend of people leaving the state.
Yeah. As much as I'm not a big fan of Joe Rogan, as we talked last time, I'm sure me and him have maybe different reasons why we might want to leave California. But I do have to say, I love California and I'm considering leaving.
Really?
It's, you would think that, for example, right, if you're in California, you're most likely a Democrat or liberal who doesn't agree with how Donald Trump has handled the pandemic, right?
Right.
But so we have a very liberal government, Governor Newsom here, and a lot of very liberal, mayors. And yet we've handled this pandemic just as bad in a different way. Right. You can claim that Trump didn't do anything, but these guys did a lot, but they did a lot of wrong things. And
what kind of things did they do? What kind of, like, I don't think Trump did the worst job with it. It's a hard thing. And he's definitely like, everything he says is like, comes off like, oh, that guy's a jerk all the time. But I mean, what can you do about it? And then in the beginning, he definitely was kind of like trying to pretend like it wasn't happening. But like, that's kind of what I do when I have a sniffle. I like ignore it. And I pretend like it's not happening. And then I feel like the rest of my body like complies with it. So I kind of get it, but I mean.
Well, so I would say that obviously, you can easily argue that Trump just hasn't done as much as people wanted him to, or doctors, or we wanted him to, right? He's basically didn't just do much where California government did a lot. But what I'm saying is what California government did was also so incompetent that the results turn out to be kind of the same as, the federal government not doing much, right? Yeah. So that was disappointing because
what were some of the things that they did?
Well, so for example, they put a this not a curfew but shelter in place and all this, but people who don't for example don't want to wear a mask are perfectly fine going in into places and still endangering everybody else. Like, for example, our cops, like here in Sacramento, they don't wear masks, period. I literally I just talked to the cop because I was a witness to an accident. And as I was talking to a cop, I was wearing a mask, but he wasn't, right? So stuff like that. So there's big, like when I go to Oakland, there's tons of huge parties with DJs going on and cops are just standing there watching. So all these good people who are obeying this are at home, and businesses are going out of business because they can't make money.
So they put the rule in place, but then like certain people didn't follow it.
Enforce it, right? I mean, it's just like
it's a hard thing to enforce, but
it's actually not.
No.
Listen, here's the thing: if you allow people without masks in your establishment, and if you get caught, let's say 3 times, you lose your license. Period.
Okay.
Very easy.
Wasn't there something in California that was like, if you tell on someone, you get like a reward or something like that?
No.
I heard of, no.
I think if you tell them something, you get punched in the face later.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, and it's not just about how they handle the pandemic. Like, for example, if you're running a business here in California, there's a lot of unreasonable rules that all favor employees and people who don't want to work, and very few favoring people who work their entire, like business owners, small business owners who work 60 hours a week, trying to provide jobs, trying to provide for their families. They always get screwed in California.
Yeah. That's the stereotype. They're like kind of like very left and like not really pro-business, and like it doesn't work that well. And then the homeless thing, right?
Yes.
Do you have homeless people in Sacramento?
All the time, yes. They're not as aggressive. And
it's fascinating. Homeless people are fascinating, I think.
I see that one. I just don't know what the solution is. But another thing is, for example, in California, the gun laws are really strict because everybody here believes that guns just kill people and that's all it is, right? But if you're a responsible gun owner who's taken classes and consistently trains, and as a matter of fact, usually for example, concealed carry permit owners, especially in California, are the most perfect citizens because you have to have no criminal record. You have to have nobody like that in your household, and you're always like afraid to lose that permit. So if anything, and you have so much training that you have to take in order to get that permit, that you become not only no danger to the society, you're the person who can prevent a robbery or rape and so forth. But in California, no one wants to hear that. They're like, guns bad.
Yeah. And the homeless thing. So like, it's obviously, because I just think it's fascinating, and like great weather. So that's one thing, I guess. But like I have great weather where I am here, and there's not as many homeless people. There's some downtown, but I hear about it all the time now because people are talking about the California thing. And like, is it because all the homeless people go there, or is it because why are there so many homeless people in California? Is it because the government allows them to be out there?
So this is a very difficult question, and I don't know the real answer. I think I can only start guessing. But overall, and again, like I'm here in the capital of California, we encourage and allow a lot of people not having to work, right? A lot of people here are in one way or another using government sort of programs, right?
Money,
and yes, some people do need it, okay? But honestly, most people, just like people hold those handicapped parking permits, just like with them, most people don't need them. And so we almost it's hard to do business and work hard here, and it's easy not to do anything and still get paid here. So I think the homeless is just basically an extreme of the ladder, where people who really didn't want to work, they sort of kind of fall off the wagon. And then, but of course, mental illness and not having appropriate services, a lot of vets that come back with some of the mental health issues. And, some of them are physically disabled, but also, a drug addiction. And as we know, a lot of people in America are not addicted to drug because they decided to, started using heroin for the fun of it. It's a lot of people who were on painkillers after surgery, and they get mismanaged, a lot of them, and then the only way for them they get addicted is to replace that is with actually heroin.
Right.
And we know heroin will end your life one way or another sooner or later.
Right. Yeah. And they need more dosage of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the empathy in California, I feel like it's definitely like gone off the meter. Like empathy's good. Like I'm a nice guy. Like I think most people are. And I feel like in California, yeah, this is just my perception. Like if you bring up guns or if you bring up anything like leaning right, you like get shamed, I feel like. And
yeah, if you are not chanting Black Lives Matter, you're racist. If you believe that you should be able to own a gun and carry the gun responsibly, you are for murdering children, right? I think that's our nation is like that. Even if we just for a second can get back to electric cars.
Of course.
The culture of electric cars is very much the same. If you don't agree with everything that Elon Musk always says about everything, you're a Tesla hater, right? If you don't believe that the Tesla is the only car out there that's the best and everything else is crap, you are a Tesla hater, right? There's no in between there. There's no
nuance is like the best part of the world. That's where like good conversations are had, and that's where great ideas are formed. But if you just shut off from the conversation, being like, "No, you're evil," I feel like there's a lot of that in California, and I guess in the electric car world too.
In the electric car world, and Elon Musk a lot of times actually sets that tone, right? I mean, why can't we say that? Yeah, he does. Every time he believes someone, he disagrees with him a little bit. Like. He called the former Secretary of Labor a moron as a response to that guy saying like
Robert Reich or whatever, that guy.
Robert Reich, that's right. And like Robert Reich, I mean, yes, he asked for a fight, but his point was like, Elon, you're the third richest man in the world, but yet you cut salaries of your humble employees by 10%. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to say, but when you come back at him at Twitter and call him a moron, then you're setting a very different tone than having an actual conversation about wealth in America and employment and unions, right?
I heard he said something about like, well, yes, that's true, but also each employee has stock, so that went up.
That's right. And that's exactly right. So that's actually a decent point. He's saying like all employees have stock, so just like I benefit from stock, they benefit from it as well. Now, that's still kind of avoiding an issue of why'd you cut their salaries by 10%. But we also need to understand that Elon Musk doesn't work for us. He doesn't work for you as a Tesla owner. And he doesn't even work for his employees. He works for only one group of people, which is shareholders. And he's done an amazing job.
Yeah.
You might not be happy with your Tesla in some ways as a Tesla owner, but you definitely are happy as a shareholder. So
I have no complaints about either.
But as soon as you call someone a moron on a name on Twitter, all of that logic and discussions that we're having right now all goes out of the window. So
although that Robert Reich guy though, he is kind of like one of those. He's only one-sided, super left wing, like super. He is kind of like that. So maybe it was not just about that comment, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Elon, he definitely can stir the controversy up.
Right, but why can't we say that Elon Musk is really good at running a tech company and producing amazing cutting edge cars and launching rockets to Mars, but he's not really good at, say, predicting the pandemic trends, right?
Right.
Why can't we say that? Because he really is bad. He predicted that this is going to be over at the end of April, and that tweet is still up. But that's okay. I don't care if Elon Musk knows
I mean, no one
pandemics.
really knew about that. Yeah, right. So he doesn't know everything in the world. He's really good at what he does, but we can't take his word as gospel. But and he's moving. Isn't he moving the factory from California to Austin?
No,
or putting a new one there.
So he's putting a new factory in Austin where they're going to be making a Cybertruck and Model 3 and Model Y for the East Coast for you guys. And so but he threatened to move the headquarters there from California when California wouldn't let him break the shelter in place regulation and restart the factory, So instead of like, this is exactly the same as walking in without a mask at Chipotle right now. Elon pulled that off by saying, well, if you're not going to let me do what everybody else can't, I'm gonna go to another state. And as soon as they let him, which they totally bent over and took it, right? Okay. As soon as they let him, he just okay, I guess we can stay. I mean,
so his threat kind of worked, basically.
Yeah, it totally worked, right? It totally worked.
And I guess that's a lot of jobs and stuff like that too. But yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, you can't just get up and move the factory. And even headquarters, by the way, you want your best people in at your headquarters. And the best people, I think, for Tesla, at least majority of them, live in Silicon Valley. And I don't think a lot of them will want to go to even Austin, which is not, California friendly. I think you would have a hard time moving people because, we have great schools in here in the Bay Area, great schools. People love the community, very highly educated community.
It's a beautiful state and a beautiful like scenery.
Yeah.
There's mountains and then there's the ocean. Like obviously California is
Can't
great.
see any of that right now.
You
can't see down the street.
So that's the other thing. So you can't in Sacramento, like.
So we just had our first day of actual, this is not hazardous to be outside day.
Jeez.
But I was in Oakland on Friday and I also visited Los Angeles on Thursday. And you couldn't see anything anywhere in California. Like the only time I saw the sun and the blue sky was when my plane went above the smoke. And then that's the only time. So
is that from like that gender reveal one, or is there all kinds of different ones? I can't even keep track.
All kinds of, and some of them is actually coming from Oregon. It's all kinds of fires. And it is like, again, today is not bad. I can see a little bit of sky now, but it looked like we were attacked by aliens. Jeez, and we're just about to be extinct. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know maybe no one really knows, but like the cause of the fires, like what do you think the problem and solution might be?
So original fires that we had, I think 2-3 weeks ago, were because we had a very hot weather and then we had a thunderstorm with a lot of lightning and they just lit up a lot of dry crap that's everywhere, right?
Is there anything that could be done to stop that, or it's just like inevitable?
Yeah, let's stop calling the climate change a hoax. Let's take it seriously. And we need to start doing something about it. Driving electric cars was a good start, but there's actually way bigger problems that we have that causes climate change. And, it's fires here, but hurricanes on another side of the country, right?
Right.
So until we're on the same page there, we won't be stopping this. This is unstoppable because
I mean, climate change is like it's so complicated, and like,
it is complicated.
I every time I hear the word, I'm like, I try to like research it, and I have researched it, and like I can't really talk intelligently on it. I don't know exactly what it means,
and that is a problem. I'll tell you. So I am someone who is completely on board with climate change. I believe it's happening, and I think they've done the worst PR job ever for any cause, right? Because it's quite simple. I mean, it's a complicated issue, but it's quite simple to explain to people where it's coming from, what it's doing, and what we need to fix it. However,
explain it to me.
No, I can't, because even when I try to do research, because is it from gas-powered cars? Is it from cow poop? Is it from you know what I mean? Like they've yet to agree or clearly identify the causes, right? And then there's some things that you can also kind of take into account as like, temperatures go up and down all the time.
Right.
We're not a new planet.
Right.
So you have to calibrate it with what happened in the past. They've done a horrible job explaining it, even to people like me, who's very receptive to this.
Right.
So a horrible PR job.
Yeah. I mean, the world used to be like Pangea, right? Like it was all. The whole globe is like one land, like, and it over millions of years or whatever. It's moving, it's shifting. It seems like it's definitely changing. And I guess the question is it natural or not? And I guess that's the man-made climate change. That's like, if there's something we can do to stop this, let's do that. But it's just like, I'm driving an electric car. I'm helping.
Right. Even the wording. First, they called it global warming, which was horrible because some climate change is actually cooling or causing hurricanes. Now they're calling it climate change, which is, again, easily can say, well, climate changes all the time. What do you want from us, right? So they can't even get the wording right. When people on the other side got great stuff, hoax, right? like they got great PR. On here, they have horrible PR. So it's
I'm always open-minded to it, and every time it comes up, I just never know what to say. So
I absolutely agree.
They need to work on it.
It is here, and we're seeing it outside on this coast as fires, and the other coast as hurricanes that are stronger and stronger, and it's hotter and cooler. Record setting all the time for temperature.
Yeah,
those are the warnings that something is happening, and we better not think that it's not.
Yeah. So California's got fires, no dates in Sacramento. They got the high taxes and
pandemic. You're forgetting pandemic.
And the pandemic, and and the whole attitude about anyone who has guns wants to kill children and all that. And I think I saw that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw at some point that you guys there was a riot and like someone hit your car or something like that. Did I see that on your stories, or am I making that up in my head? I thought I saw like maybe your car got damaged in like a riot or a protest.
So, two things. One, yes, my car got broken into like the first time I came to Oakland.
Okay.
I forgot that that's a thing. But yeah, I also got caught in the middle of police clash with the protesters when I was just on a date at the restaurant in Oakland. But we escaped pretty quickly. I always carry my press jacket, my press pass, just in case.
What does that do? Like, hey, I'm with the press, or what? Like?
Well, that lets people know that you are not here for that.
Okay.
I'm not on either side.
I'm on the sidelines. I'm on the sidelines, basically.
Right.
Okay.
So, and it usually lets me get out of, what I mean. So, because you get caught in the wrong crowd, right?
Yeah.
You can have a problem.
Yeah. What do you think about like the protests and the riots overall?
So that's the thing. Like, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm very much in the middle. And just like with Elon Musk, and just like with everything we talked about, I feel like truth is really not just on one side or another, right? So, for example, do we have a big freaking problem with cops taking liberties and sometimes killing people and especially Black people in a cold blood? Yes.
Yeah.
Why is it happening? Because they have no oversight. But at the same time, there are also times when they do it actually correctly, right?
Right.
And we as people take wrong sides sometimes. For example, Jacob Blake, right?
Yeah.
He has a history of sexual assault. He basically tried and I believe raped some people. The reason this incident happened was because they were there called because he was the claim was he was trying to rape a woman.
Right.
And he fought them. He went to his car against all of his, and that's another thing. People who don't understand why there were 7 shots and not 1 don't understand how guns work and all that stuff. Okay. So, but at the same time, and like, for example, Kamala Harris visited him because he's a victim of this, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to be visiting victims, you kind of have to visit victims of his crimes then as well. All the women he's assaulted, that woman that he was sexually trying to assault. From what I understand, a child was maybe in the same room with her. So
he wasn't a good guy.
He was
I still think they should have tried to tackle him and not shoot him if they could have.
Well, they tried.
They tried
to tackle him. They tried to tase him. They tried to put him on a gunpoint and tell him don't go into the car. So but I'm just saying, like, but the thing is if anybody hears me say this on the other side, they'll be like, Alex is racist.
Yeah,
right?
Racist.
I'm a racist. So, but I'm just saying, hey, maybe we don't glorify a rapist.
Right.
When he is possibly also a victim, right? Like we should still understand that there could be 2 crimes on a 1 crime scene, right? But no, that's the thing. You won't find too many people agreeing with me. One side will say, that's right, screw that guy, he's, and another side will be like, well, Alex is racist, right? There is no middle ground anymore.
Right.
So
I mean, the George Floyd one was definitely worse because he was just had like a fake $20 bill or something like that. And like, but the thing is, it seemed to me, every single person agrees that was terrible. Like
True.
no one is on the other side of that one. Like it's not really complicated.
Correct.
But like it's still like riots and stuff. And I think the main cause of like the riots was everyone being stuck inside for so long. And they were all just like, let's go do something. And then I think it's like the anarchists and like it's their time to shine. It's like, all right, we got an excuse. Let's go tear down the system. And honestly, like I've never protested or rioted or anything, but sounds kind of fun. Like looting sounds awesome. You run through a store, take whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I would never do that, but like, from someone's perspective who's been stuck inside and they're just like an idiot kid and they don't really understand how the world works and they're getting permission from like some older people than them. Like I can understand like the appeal of it kind of.
Yeah. And, but then look how many issues in there, right? First of all, looters and protesters most of the time are two different groups of people, right?
Right.
And then they say, well, these people are looting because they have nothing to eat and they're desperate, right? Well, why are they robbing Nike stores and Best Buys and not Safeways and Sprouts, right? Yeah. So on another hand, there are peaceful protesters and the protesters who get into face of police officers and try to attack them, right? Yeah. So, but then police officers go like, whoa, we don't want to cause any more trouble. And then we have a problem with our police being afraid to do their jobs, right? So like there's so many different problems there. And but then the other day, police officers here, I think, ran over the crowd because they surrounded them, right?
I saw that.
They ran over the crowd, and people like
they ran like away from the crowd, kind of like maybe we saw a different video, but like I don't think they like ran into a crowd. But that's what I'm saying, right? Like, they either didn't touch the crowd or they ran the crowd, right? There's nobody's like, listen, they were trying to get out as safe as possible, but they were also trying to save, themselves from this. And, and that's what really happened. There's this great movie. It's a Japanese movie, like it's black and white. I should have probably remembered the name, but it's basically about a story of very simple story about what happens to this couple that goes like into the woods and stuff, and it's shown from the side of the man, I believe, of the woman, and I think the robber, and then at the end of it, it shows from the side of somebody who just was hiding in bushes and observing it. Right? It's kind of cool.
Right. So you have 4 stories, and one of them actually the true independent story, and I think that's what's missing. Right. Again, in our television, but again, where I work, which is an electric car industry, is that independent. This is what happens. There's some good and some bad, and no one's 100% right or wrong kind of a perspective, right?
Yeah.
And that's why my channel doesn't have 2 million, subscribers, because Tesla fans don't want to subscribe to my channel because once in a while I say, well, that's bad. And
because you're just not straight sucking dick all day long.
Exactly right. Yeah. If I don't live in his column, I shouldn't be listened to, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I got 2 other things to say on the like protesting that I think are interesting. One is literally a year ago, like yesterday, my fiance, we're getting married in 9 days. We've been getting pushed off forever. I think I was talking about it with you last time, but her uncle. He was up to no good, really. He was kind of like on a bad stretch, but he was out in Indiana and he got killed by the police. Like he got tased a couple of times and he tried to run away, and they like suffocated him and he died. And no like backlash from it at all. So it's like, I think police kind of might have that problem no matter of race. And then the other thing is, I think one of the main problems is if the people who like have the culture of the police are bad. I have got like in college, I got in trouble like 6 times. I got like some underages, some disorderly conducts. And every single time I got in trouble, I was shit talking and talking back. And I was giving them a hard time. Like a couple times more recently, like I've been pulled over or I've been in situations and I'm very polite and very like respectful and I haven't gotten in trouble. And I just think that if people think that the cops hate them, I guess specifically black people who might be told that, then they are kind of acting like dicks to the cops. Then the cops are more like on their toes and more nervous. And it's just a whirlwind that creates that problem. So right. I think it's part of it.
But nobody wants to say that, right? Like, so for example, like if you hear that, hey, police brutality is actually across the board, and then the rest of it, well, but people say, well, why is it in proportionately to black people? Well, first of all, I want to see the statistics, but also, don't you have to pair it up with proportions of what, say, for example, black men commit crimes versus white men, right? I never hear those numbers. Maybe they're not even supporting that argument. But what I'm saying is, if you're just going with one part of the statistics, right? And people say unequally proportionate. But if you're proportionate to the wrong number or to the wrong statistics, you are wrong as well. So that's the thing. Why can't it be both? Why can't it be police brutality in general is bad? They're screwing a lot of people and exercising the. At the same time, some of them are also have a racial bias. But on the other hand, maybe Black community can also take some responsibility. For example, if you come up to a child in your neighborhood and I ask you, hey, little Billy, or whatever the name is, who would you like to be when you grow up? Maybe if more kids from your neighborhood will say, I want to be a police officer rather than I want to be a basketball player, maybe there will be more community-oriented police force because the police officers are part of the community and they won't have to be busing guys and ladies from another side of town who have no idea what the culture of your community is. So you can't complain about the police not being part of your community if your community is not producing police officers. Why can't we talk about that, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. And it is an honorable job too. I mean, police officers, I've hated them many times. I got pulled over. I'm like, oh, this dick, like, I'm thinking this, not saying to him, like, oh, he doesn't have any friends in high school. Now he's supposed to pull me over. I'm just thinking that in my head. I'm complaining. But then I pull away and I'm like, okay, they're just protecting society. Like, come on, police are. I'm no police fanboy. Like, I'm not some police guy. I'm not some big rule follower. But we need them in society, and it's an honorable job for a young kid. And that's a good point.
And can we also put some videos up there on the media that love showing the videos of Jacob Blake 1,000 times? Can we put up some videos of when police officers get shot, and I mean to death? When they just pulling somebody over.
There was that one recently in Compton.
There's tons of them. There's tons. There are YouTube compilations of people doing nothing but shooting at the police. You're right. There was recently one that just came up, right? So what I'm
Kamala
saying
Harris should go visit that guy too to even it out.
Correct, right? Yeah. So exactly, right? So what I'm saying is that you have to understand that stuff happens and police officers don't want that to happen, and they have families and children. And so when somebody tries to fight you, tries to tase you when you're on the taser, and then goes into the car trying to reach for whatever he was reaching.
Especially when from the reports what they've done in the past.
Right. That's another thing, right? We hear this report saying, listen, we always have to tell our sons that, your target whenever you get pulled over by police, right?
That's not okay. That's a problem.
Okay, right, but it's a problem. But did nobody tell Jacob Blake? Did you not? Right. So I'm just saying is that why can the truth be in the middle? Why is it always an extreme on one side? Why is it always extreme on the other side? And the sides are getting more and more away from each other, right?
Right. And I always wonder if that's actually true, or if I feel like it's true in California on the one side, but also it's the media making headline porn and trying to scare us and shit like that, and trying to make it seem more
also
divisive.
The media is very polarized, right? And you can't have a conversation. Let me give you an example. So I met this girl in Bumble, right?
Okay.
So she's a 27-year-old Black. I mainly date Black women. So she is
are they the ones that stand you up?
No. This is a better story than that.
Okay.
So she's a 26-year-old Black female, right? Okay. And sometime into our conversation on the phone, I realized that she is a Trump supporter, which is very rare for a Black community. Most Black people would believe,
especially female, I feel like.
Right, that Trump is made a lot of racially divisive statements. He essentially admitted to some sexual assault against women. So a Black female, I just rarely, right? Yeah. Now I wasn't gonna argue with her, but I always ask the same question: can I ask you why you support Trump, right? And so one of her many arguments was, for example, Trump has created all these jobs, especially in the Black community, and unemployment is very low. I said, oh, well, how low do you think the unemployment is right now in the US? She said, well, I don't really know, but it's about 1%. I said, well, not only it's never been or will be 1%, but also it is very easily Googleable. And she's like, well, we getting all these numbers to CNN probably. I'm like, no, actually it comes from the Department of Labor, which works for Trump, right? It's his administration. Federal. So it comes from there. It's pretty independent in general because they literally just take the numbers that come in and give it back to us. Right. And I said, well, you can easily Google it. And just so you know, while I was talking, I did, and it's 8.4. Okay. And she hung up on me. And here lies two problems, right? One is that she had an opinion about something that she didn't know the facts about. But I think as bad as that is, we have a bigger problem because, and I'm just using her as an example, people who don't know the facts when they create an opinion about something don't even want to know the facts, right? I feel like stupid people used to be like, well, I'm stupid, but I'd like to get smarter, right? I would like to get smarter. Alex doesn't know everything either. I'd like to get smarter. No, unfortunately, no, despite what my mom would tell you. But, you know, but the fact that people, like, I told her, like, she can Google this.
But also that's not her opinion. Like, she was assigned that opinion, I feel like, because that's what Trump says when you ask him about this. He's like, well, the black unemployment was great under my administration. And that's always like his thing that he says when that topic comes up. So I feel like she might just be on that side. And that was like her general talking point. Like, she was trying to say
lack
something.
Of critical thinking then, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, if you know anything about unemployment, right? Like, if you ever even heard a news report about unemployment, which is every quarter at least, right? You know, you know where the numbers have been, right? Like, I feel like we all know it's under 10 usually, but it's definitely above 1.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think that fact that we have 8.4 during the pandemic is amazingly good. You know, it's not bad at all.
But like voting and politics though, they're emotional. I feel like you go with like what your gut tells you, and then when you try to defend yourself, you don't want to be like, I don't know, I just feel like it. You try to back it up with like some facts. So then you're backing into it. Like, I like Trump. I like him, and like one of the reasons I like him is just it's not a good reason. It's just I like the fact that he's crazy, and I like the fact that he's always hustling.
You like the fact that he is crazy?
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of like crazy people.
No, you can't be serious. Wait, we got to explain.
I didn't explain. Like that's what I'm saying. It's hard to explain things on an emotional thing. I like how many speeches he does. I like that he's like a stand-up comic and makes jokes, and I like that he has like an act, and I like that he's a performer, and I like that like. And see, that doesn't sound like a good reason, but it's like an emotional pull. And then if I wanted to tell you the real reason, I'd be like, well, the unemployment, blah, blah, blah. Then I'd start to get into that zone. Like, I admit, like, I'm not either way, but like, it's an emotional pull. I'll admit that. Like, I don't know. There's something about that guy watching on TV and I'm like, motherfucker. Like, and I just kind of like smirk and I'm just like, this guy, like, and it just kind of makes me laugh sometimes. And I get how people hate him, and I completely understand. Like, sometimes I'm like, dude, shut up. And I was actually...
But that's another thing. Is like, well, so first of all, you can't hate Donald Trump. I think, so here's the thing. I can easily argue that Donald Trump maybe is the best representation of what America is right now.
Yeah.
Very polarized, doesn't like facts, doesn't like science, and says whatever they want. So if you want a democratically elected president in a country where facts don't matter, people make the vote based on their gut, like, he's a perfect president if you really believe in democracy. But also, you know, I'm not a big fan of him, but I also realize that he has done some good things that I agree with. He's not all bad. Like, there are quite a few policies that I'm definitely going to miss once, let's say, Biden wins the election, right? There are some things, like, for example, as a gun owner. Like,
you're into that.
I'm sorry, as a gun owner, all the Democratic policies are not just stupid, they're unreasonable and essentially unconstitutional, right? So, for example, I'm from Santa Clara County originally. That's where I used to live before I moved to Sacramento. You can't carry, even if you have no background checks, nothing on your record, you've taken all the classes, you cannot carry a gun with you. Period, ever, right?
It's just unreasonable, right?
Why not? Like, and again, you might disagree with
that's funny because I actually am like, right. I actually am like, I'm actually not a big gun guy. I'm like a little left on guns. Like, I just never really had one, never really been into the culture of it. But I completely understand. Like, it's the Second Amendment, and like, also most people that have them, like, I'm fine with it. But it's funny.
You know how, like, I'm in the middle of getting my CCW, the concealed carry permit right now. Do you know what kind of hoops I'm going through? And then I've never taken classes this much. Like, I have to go through 16-hour course just for this, and it will have to be renewed, and I'll have to take a class every 2 years.
Dang.
And if I do anything wrong in my life, any type of trouble with cops, that permit gets yanked out of me really, really quickly.
Wow.
Right? You have to be an extremely very, very good and responsible gun owner, and you have to have no criminal record, and people who live with you cannot have any type of violent criminal record. So why, as someone like me, cannot have what Constitution says I have, right? So what I'm saying is I'm going to miss some things about, the Republican policies and
that's not. I feel like that's not even like a Trump thing. That's kind of just like a Republican thing. Yeah, I feel like he's done good with like stuff like out of the country, like the Israel stuff. I don't know a lot about it, but it seems like he's done good with like some of that stuff over there. Like, I don't know, peace in the Middle East. I don't know all the details. It seems like
you did it again. You just said you just offered your opinion and then capped it off with I don't know much about it.
Yeah, at least I admit it. At least I admit it, though. I'm not pretending.
I can introduce you to that girl I was talking to. We really can have a Facebook group, but no, actually, you're right. I mean, like you have to give him some credit because he's just he had at least one Arab country in the Gulf in the Gulf region to recognize Israel, which probably is one of the most important steps in the last 20 years of resolving the Palestinian conflict, because sooner or later there's enough countries recognizing Israel. Palestine might have to do the same, and then we're in a whole different world, right? Or, for example, I always thought it was BS that our great leaders, our presidents, Republican or Democratic, always refuse to go and meet with some of the other leaders because they're too mean, right?
It's like listen, like a Kim Jong-un their country. Or Putin.
Well, no, like for example, Kim Jong-un, for example, right?
I loved when he met with him. I was like, why the hell not?
Yeah, why not? Like, it's none of your business how they run their countries. You may disagree, but your best interest should be making peace with that country and having some sort of direct communication for our safety, right? And whether it's Bush or Obama or Clinton, all of them were like, no, we don't talk to mean people. But it's your president and he is the president. And you need to talk to him for our safety. And so I like the fact that Trump's
got balls. I like that about him. Sometimes it doesn't play out well. The most disappointed in him I've ever been was recently during the George Floyd situation. I thought he had an opportunity to at least attempt some type of I have a dream unity speech. Yeah. At least attempt it. It could have been, he could have made shirts with it. He could have made it like a part of his brand that would have been looked back amazingly on in history in 50, 100 years. I feel like he dropped the ball there and he kind of got into the one side and was all about law and order. I get it. But that was the most, there was like a stretch there where I almost didn't like him at all. And I thought that was an opportunity, but overall.
I thought he had another opportunity with pandemic. I don't know if you listened to some of those tapes that journalist was releasing.
Oh yeah, Woodward.
Right. And so, and I honestly, this is the first time I heard Trump as like a human being. He was talking like a human being to another person. And he was saying, hey man, this pandemic is really bad. And, it gets transmitted and people die. Right. And you're like, oh my God, I've actually heard actual empathy from him. Right. And I feel like if he would have said that to everybody, all Republican and Democrats would be like, wow, we have a problem on our hands. And I feel like just like with George W. Bush, right? A lot of people hated George W. Bush, but everyone got behind him after 9/11 for a while. Right. I think this was a moment where everybody could have gotten behind Trump if he said, listen, we have a pandemic on our hands. I'm going to go ahead and put the mask on. And please, let's listen to doctors. Let's take care of it. I think it would have shown leadership. And I think it would have guaranteed the re-election. For him, because we all would be behind him because he would have been trying to solve our problem. Yeah. But I thought there was another opportunity that he missed.
Yeah. Now, I feel like he had a bad stretch there.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong. I don't like the guy. I didn't vote for him. I'm not going to vote for him again. But at the same time, I see a lot of good things. Not a lot. Quite a few things that I can name that he's done. Some. And I also can tell you, there are quite a few things I'm really scared of if Biden becomes a president and possibly Kamala becomes a president, because I also don't think Biden is in best shape.
Yeah, so it's so obvious.
Neither is Trump, but I'm just saying they both have quite a few senior moments. But I have to say that I'm quite a little bit afraid of both.
Yeah, I wanted Andrew Yang, but I don't know why no one liked him.
Yes. Why can't we have Andrew?
I just like the entrepreneur. He was kind of smart, like a tech guy, kind of could see towards the future. And I don't know. I was so confused when he wasn't getting any votes in the primaries.
I was like, what the heck? That guy. Yeah. Him and I think Pete Buttigieg
Yeah, he kind of wore on me because he was just so standard, like politician guy.
Really? I actually thought, well, first of all, I think someone who is a veteran who's been to war.
Yeah, that's a great. He's got all the check marks box. He's gay, which is good.
I think it's
he's
important.
Got the veteran thing, which is good. He's good looking. He says the right stuff. He checks all the boxes, but I don't feel any like.
I don't know if being good looking is on my list of check boxes for president.
Come on, you gotta look at him all the time. Like, I mean, look matters for president. Come on. Well, Biden's kind of handsome. He's got those shiners. He's got those veneers, and he's got his like slick hair. He looks pretty good for a 77-year-old.
If that was important to me, I would be voting for Kerry Washington then. You know, so it's just me, I guess.
Yeah. You still not like Joe Rogan? You still think he's the problem with everything in America?
Well, I think so. Just like I told you last time, I think if an alien would land on Earth and they would say, show me everything that's wrong with your country right now. And but we have 5 minutes. I'll be like, please meet Joe Rogan, right? He literally is everything that's wrong with.
Dude, I feel the exact opposite. I feel like if we had one person to show, it might be Joe Rogan. Like, that's so funny. Like,
well, I mean, I can give you a couple examples, right? I mean, let's start with Tesla, right?
Okay.
Why does it he's into cars? Can we admit that he's really into cars?
I mean, I guess, yeah.
He's a manly man who's into cars. Come on, don't give me that.
But he's not like you, where like his whole channel's about cars, or all he talks about is cars. Like once in a while he dabbles in cars, but yeah, he's a car guy. He knows.
Yeah. He's a manly man who doesn't use chapstick probably. So, but what I'm saying is that why does it take Elon Musk coming to his show for him to change his mind on electric cars? You say, I say this is the guy who's interested in a topic and yet doesn't educate himself well enough to see the future and to see what the next.
I think you're overestimating how much into cars he is. Like, he's not that. It's just like he talks about many different things.
But one of the things that he talks is about cars. And honestly, I think at this point, an average person, just an average person with an average intellectual level, should understand why electric cars is the future, right? It's really there for you. So the fact that Elon Musk has show up and talk him into electric cars, it just shows that he's just not exactly either on the cutting edge of understanding what's happening with technology.
You don't listen to him enough. I guarantee you would like him if you listen to more of his stuff, because he's exactly like right in the middle on all this stuff. He's nuanced, he's smart, and he talks to people from different sides, and he's like always right there in the middle, asking like the right question. And he
certainly admits that he was very much surprised by how great Teslas are, even though we all of us knew that 5 years before Joe decided to have the little epiphany, and I didn't have to have Elon Musk show up to my studio to explain it to me.
Right. That's one thing, but I would love if he hosted the debates, though. That's in the news now. It's like, well, Joe Rogan, and Trump said that he would do it. He gave it thumbs up. He's like, I'll do it.
So here's another thing. I do agree with that. I actually think Joe Rogan hosting a debate. See, I'm in the middle. I think Joe Rogan hosting a debate would be the best thing that ever happened, because this BS commentators of CNN and Fox or whatever, to me, they're all equal when it comes to journalism, really, and debate at least. I feel like he would ask some uncomfortable questions on both sides. I may not agree with what Joe Rogan would ask, but I think the fact that he would equally try to challenge both of them is definitely very appealing.
It would be like kind of raw and like authentic. And that's
that's another thing.
There's none of that. And then there's like a commercial. Like, what the hell? Like I hate the way the debates are. And the country's moving away from that. The country's moving towards podcasting and like conversations. Like, I never watched the standard news, maybe a clip on YouTube once in a while, but like rarely. And I think most people are kind of moving away from that. And let's have the debates move away from it. Let's move the country forward. And I think it'd be a good start to do it with Joe Rogan. But
like, for example, it's not a debate if you get to see the questions ahead of time and get to negotiate them. Like, to me, that wipes out the whole concept of the debate. And I bet Joe Rogan, if these ask, hey, what questions are you going to ask me, he'll tell you to go after yourself, right? And I would be absolutely behind him on that. So even though I think Joe Rogan is actually the example of what's wrong with this country, at the same time, I do think that he's got much better moderator skills than Anderson Cooper, for example, right?
Right. And it would just be a cool format. Like, Biden would never do it. Like, that's the other thing I kind of like about Trump. Like, even like yesterday, I think it was at like a town hall, and like people were asking him tough questions, and and he didn't know what the questions were, and he had to face them, and like he will at least go out and talk to people. Like, he did that interview with HBO, and they were like, and he said something like, "It is what it is," and that was the soundbite. He got torn up for it. Yeah, not a great thing to say. I agree, but like he was doing an interview with like an adversarial person. Like he'll go out and he'll talk to like anyone, and I like that about him. And Biden, like, at the beginning, I was saying, like, people were saying he is losing his mind. Everyone was saying that. I was saying, like, I don't know, man. That's what everyone's saying, but like, let's give the guy some credit. Let's see. And like now it's just going on more and more. Like, I hate to just say what everyone else is saying. I'd love to have a different opinion, but definitely seems like the guy's not all there.
Yeah, well, I don't think either one of them. I think Trump had just the same number of same type of moments where he sounded confused and like he was having a mini stroke. Both of them, I think, there's tons of clips on both sides. That's why I don't think we should be electing people like over 70 as a president. Like, that could be a rule, right? Like, if you're over 70, you are just may not be all the way there. In cases of both of this, man, they may not even serve out their 4-year next term. So
I plan on living to be 150 years old, so I can't agree with cutting it off at 70. That's my plan. I'm gonna live to. I got the Neuralink, modern medicine, and a positive mindset, and just like I feel like
for now. We can raise that as the
raise it up. But I feel like a lot of old people die like when like their spouse dies, or like when they like start having no meaning of life. And when that happens to me or something, I'm gonna try to like start a new life, give me another like 20 years out of it. Of like, I think it depends how healthy I am, but
I hate to tell you this 9 days ahead of it, but I think most people die when they get married. But okay, I'm just saying, it's just me.
That's why you got to stand up on all the dates.
That's why I'm not invited to your wedding. That's why.
Yeah, I've basically been like married for a while. Like I work in my company with my fiance, and like we have a good relationship as far as like. She doesn't tell me what to do. A lot of people get married and that like sets a new stage for them. Like they move in together, or like then they start like having a whole new lifestyle. Like it's going to be the same for me. And I don't let her tell me what to do, but like I'm also not interested in other girls because I got her. So it's just like, I get to kind of just be myself, do whatever I want. And that works. And I feel like, a lot of guys, like some of my friends, my fantasy football league, they just, they're married now and you'll never see them again. And I'm not going to be one of those guys.
Yeah, right. That's. I think they all say that. But let me ask you this: like, why do you want to get married? Why marriage license? Why
It's a good
not?
Question.
To me, I never understood it. I've never been married. I never want to be married because I'll tell you my philosophy on this is: if I wake up next to my partner, I want us to choose each other every morning rather than be stuck in a contract, right? So I'm wondering, what is the benefit of marriage? People say commitment, but obviously with the number of people who cheat and get divorced,
right.
If anything, that's actually quite the opposite almost.
Yeah,
like we're going to get married, so statistically we're not going to be together forever. So what I'm trying to understand,
it's honestly a good question. So let me try to think about that answer. Like, so we've like probably should have got married so long ago. Like we already have a house, a business together. Like I never really did care about the paperwork, and I don't really. I guess like, if I'm on my deathbed, like legally she can make the decisions. And like, if I die, like, actually we already have a life insurance policy because I had a friend who sold it to me, and already if I die, she gets the money. And I always make a joke that I'm going to like, hey, piss me off, I'm going to kill you and get $1 million. But also,
like, let me, sorry, just interrupt. There is such a thing, and I have it. It's called health directive. Is when you're incapacitated and someone, and you know who's in charge of that? Is my ex-girlfriend, who doesn't really like me that much right now. So, and you know why I chose her? Is because I don't want someone who loves me making that decision. I want somebody, because my ex was going to go, it's like, right here, it says if he is, a vegetable for a year, you got to unplug him. Do it, boys.
Not emotional.
Not emotional, right?
That's interesting.
And my second in charge of that is my sister, who also doesn't really like me that much. And that's exactly why I chose her for that. I did have to approach them, and they both agreed to be cold-hearted bitches to me when it comes to unplugging me. But that's the people I want. I don't want somebody who loves me having to make that decision, because they might make a wrong decision and not follow my will.
Right. Yeah. So back to your question, like I have thought about this before a little bit, and I've always been like, whatever, I don't care. And like, I feel like for a lot of traditional couples, it's like, lock that guy up, and like, you know, like it's not like that with us. Like, but we are getting married. I guess I always have like wanted to have the party. Like, and of course mine's going to be like cut in half now. But again, I get that's a stupid reason. And I'm trying to have a good answer. And
whose idea was it, by the way?
I mean, mine. Like, one of the things that I always liked about her was she never was like forcing me to get married, because if she was forcing me, I guess I'm just following along with the norms of society. Like, and I remember like I tweeted after I, got proposed. I was like, I don't always follow the rules of society, but sometimes I'll play along. Like, I kind of admit that I'm just like going along with these rules. And like, I love this girl so much. Like, I want to be with her forever. And I guess like we, for some weird reason, with kids, like we want to have kids, I guess. And I always think that's an interesting topic, because I'm not so excited. I'm already thinking about a nanny and all that stuff. Like, but I want to have
the biggest challenge with kids for you is to have figuring out the nanny.
I'm a hardworking guy, and I feel like everyone you think people die when they get married. I think a lot of people die when they have a kid, because
that's for sure.
They instantly stop caring about themselves, and they put all of their value into this little baby. Boom, their ambition in life is over. I'm very aware of that. It scares the hell out of me, and I'm saying it. I've said it a million times. It's not going to happen to me. That's why I'm like starting to think about a nanny, but I do want to have a kid. Like I like the idea of it.
Something?
Yeah, go for it.
I think, as I am 43 right now, and I think overall I've navigated life pretty well for me. Yeah. And I think if you ask me what is the best decision I've ever made in my life, I would genuinely have to say is to not have children.
I'm fascinated in that topic, and I've thought about it many times. There's this entrepreneur I love named Tom Bilyeu, who's multimillionaire, has a great wife. They're married, and he's just deciding not to have kids. And I've thought about it. I don't know, man. I'm not excited about like the childcare part. I'm not excited about the diapers. I'm not excited about having a little baby that can't do anything. But I am kind of excited to watch them as they like grow up, like navigate the world. And like I like mentoring people a little bit. And like also like I want to see a little bit of me, like selfishly, and like another person. And like I'm not going to wrap my life up in them, but also then have someone to like take care of me when I'm older. I've thought about that. I'm getting back to the marriage thing, but let's get to the kids. But I thought about that a lot. I do want to have kids, and I think it's an interesting topic. But for the marriage thing, for some reason, we have this line that says we'll have kids after we get married. Like we pushed our and I don't know why. It's probably illogical. Like our wedding got pushed back 6 months or so, and for some reason that pushed back having a kid 6 months. For some reason, there's this line of society that says like, don't have kids till you get married. And I guess maybe that's why I'm getting married. I admit I'm just following along with the rules, and I don't.
Right. By the way, I think this is probably the most honest answer I've ever gotten.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Because honestly, that's the only reason that I think that's reasonable, saying like, listen, this is kind of our society set up, and like, you know, because like, you know, me and my ex, for example, we were together for 7 years, and people who got to, so people who met us after we were already together never even thought we weren't married, right? So, and then we had to explain, well, why we're together for 7 years, are we not serious, and all that stuff, right? So it has to come with explanation. But at one point I said, hey, listen, we still don't want to get married, right? She's like, yeah, we're cool with that. But I said, well, would you like to wear rings so people don't assume that we just started dating yesterday? And, you know, especially being in an interracial relationship, people assume even more stuff, right?
Okay.
So now, luckily, she said no, but I probably would have done it. But
see, that's even weird. That's even weirder to me. It'd be weirder to not be married and wear rings than it would just be to get married, because you're accepting the norm of society too with the rings in that case.
Exactly. So we would be, well, not so much it's accepting the norm. So we would be translating our relationship into
the world.
To the world, right? So they understand this is a committed relationship. We just don't want to sign paperwork, but we live together. We own cars together. We have a joint bank account.
So I'm just signing one more paper, and I guess I don't know why. I guess.
Well, let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Would you ask her to sign a prenup?
Well, believe in the principle of it, but in our situation, it makes absolutely no sense because we started dating and we started this company when we were both poor, and we built a company together. Like literally, like she does so much for the company, so do I. So it actually doesn't make any sense because
in your
right,
situation,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like if I coming into it with a shitload of money and she had a different job and like I was making all the money she wasn't, or vice versa, whatever, then that's a tough conversation to have. And that's but I do believe in the principle of it. But in our case, it's like it's kind of cute. Like we actually like did build this business from the ground up and we're doing very well. And like it would make no sense. A prenup would literally be like, all right, do you agree to split it? Do you agree to split 50-50? Like that's the law anyway.
Yeah. So I get it. Yeah. Like in my case, listen, whoever I meet next, I already have my business going. I own my house outright. I have no debt. I have good credit score. So I don't, and some of my inheritance may come in at some point, and she shouldn't have a right to my parents' money.
Right. I see no problem with a prenup. I see no problem with it.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so here's another problem with California, right? Getting divorced in California, if you're a man, it will like the laws.
Joe Rogan always bitches about that. He's always, and people call him a chauvinist and all that, but he's like, no, dude, men get fucked in these cases, like ridiculously fucked. He's saying like, he makes the joke like, oh, I fucked her so hard she couldn't work for 20 years. He gives the example of his buddy or something of he's now remarried, has not talked to this girl for 10 years, but still a portion of his check is going to this girl who she can't work, she can't make money on her own, like. And that's crazy.
But this notion that I have to maintain a lifestyle of someone who I don't even like and who doesn't like me is ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you were with me, like, with my girlfriends, like when they were with me, okay, we're going to live in a nice place, we're going to drive nice cars, but we're no longer together. Just like if you're no longer being employed by a company, you're not getting the paycheck, right? So why in the world do you?
I'm the lifestyle, me.
Right. Exactly. When you're with me, I share it with you, but we're not like, you're not. So it blows my mind, but it is the California way. Once again, people who, and this is a general concept I don't agree with, people who don't work for their money get the money. You know what I mean? And that's the concept in California. It comes from a good place because I originally came from trying to help, people who are not fortunate, who just, for many different ways.
Too much empathy.
Right. Like, for example, the tags on the handicapped tags on cars, right? It comes from a good place. There are people who are handicapped, and if they go to a grocery store, yes, we should definitely make sure that they are not breaking their legs or whatever. Right. But 9 out of 10, if you've ever seen people who come out of that car, they can run to the store faster than me. That's number one. Number two, if it's a parking lot of a nightclub, well, I'm sorry, what? you come in there to dance, right? So like this ridiculous law that you have to have 5 parking spots in front of the dance club or a strip club. And, because we don't want homeless people, walking too far so they can get there and dance. I disagree.
So I'm hearing you're a chauvinist, racist, hater of handicapped people. Is that what I'm hearing?
And Tesla hating.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. So that is very interesting about California. And I wonder if it'll bounce out with them. Like they haven't always been like this, right? Is it, I feel like it's been in the last 30 years. I don't know. I'm only 31.
I think I only notice it more because now I have a business and, employees and now I own a gun. And I think once I kind of started, like once you started making money and be a grown up, you start noticing how the system in California is, but if you're on the other side, right, you don't want to work, and you want to, and you have like 5 kids from 3 different dads, then this is awesome. This is great, right?
Yeah.
Your insurance, like I pay $1,000 per month out of my pocket to have my health insurance, which is not even the best.
Yeah.
But half of the people around me who don't even work or don't work full time have a better insurance policy than me. Like,
that's not fair.
How does this? It's not fair, right? Like, I worked for mine, they didn't, and they get better stuff. I disagree.
It's a bad principle to put into a society. Like, people need to provide value to the world. And I mean, great, if you're injured or handicapped and you can't, yes, there should be some program to take care of you. But if you're just a bum, yes, we want you to be happy, but like you gotta do something to provide for the world. And actually in return, that'll probably make you be happier too, because human beings are wired to be happy when they provide value to the world. Like, so it's, yeah.
Well, obviously you haven't been to Sacramento, because that's not how people here are. I'm sorry.
It's crazy. Yeah. In California, man. And do you think it will change? Do you think it will turn around? Do you think they're learning their lesson with people leaving town, or do you think it's just going to be more of the same?
Oh, no, I think, no, not more of the same, worse. So I think as sort of the, everyone's going to react extremely to all of this, to pandemic, to the riots, to the presidency and all of that stuff. So I only see California going more like I believe even now when I went to get like bullets for even though it's their bullets for the range, right? Not actually that I'm like it was a problem and there's background checks and so forth. I know, for example, if you have a permit for concealed carry and you want to buy another gun, you have to go through the whole thing. Like, for example, here's the idiocracy of California laws. Okay. So we have a great law that says if you want to buy a gun, you have to wait. You buy it, but you wait for 2 weeks it's called cooling off period. So you can't just be mad at your wife, walk into the store, get a gun and go home with it, right?
Okay.
2 weeks just to make sure that you're mad at someone and you want to buy a gun for that reason. You have 2 weeks to cool off. I think it's a great law. But if I already have, so I have a gun, right? Yeah. And I had to wait and that's great. But what if I want to go and buy another gun right now? By California law, I have to go and wait another 2 weeks of cooling off period. I already have a gun, dummy. I already have it. So
I want to kill my wife. It won't be a problem. I can do it.
This is just, so to me, that's the idiocracy of it. And I expect this to get worse and worse and worse. For example, this whole thing about making the magazines smaller, like they think they're actually going to solve a problem, or disallowing certain weapons because they think they're more unsafe than others, where it's not the weapon, it's the training that the person needs to receive.
They're trying to appeal to like the crazy voters who just think guns are bad, probably.
Well,
right?
I think they also don't know much about guns. Right, I think if you educate yourself and understand what it takes to own a gun and own a CCW permit, you will understand that these are the safest people on the planet.
Yeah. I feel safe around like people who are like gun owners and they have it,
right?
Like, they're not going to be like firing it off, like
no. And so, but so I expect all of this is actually get more extreme. I expect our police departments to get defunded. I think our police is already scared to do anything at this point.
Interesting.
I expect more taxation on business and more social programs. I expect a lot of things that will make people who work hard, run their businesses or just hard workers, part of the working environment, to get screwed more, and people who are lazy and don't want to do things, want to take advantage of the program to have better lives and get more.
Interesting. So California is a stock, sell it. If you leave,
I'm considering it. When I used to consider moving, I consider moving somewhere else in California, which I did, right? From San Jose to
Right, you did that.
If I'm moving the next time, it's definitely going to be outside of California and possibly outside of the country.
No way.
As an immigrant, I kind of feel like it's a very different country that I came into. And I feel...
Don't let California speak for all of us.
No, I think it's just getting a sense from how divided all of a sudden and non-fact-based entire country is becoming. I'm not saying that other countries might be better there, but I am willing to look at other countries. Because again, as an immigrant, I'm okay
you're from Russia,
changing
right?
location.
You're from Russia. You were. How long did you live there? Or
I left when I was 15.
15.
And
That's
I'm
pretty
43
old.
now.
That's pretty old. Like I might have assumed that you were younger, like because you don't have like that thick of an accent or anything like that. Like, but Russia is like, isn't Russia like worse? Like what's Russia like?
So it depends, right? If you don't care that there's no freedom of speech, there's no freedom of express.
I care about that.
Well, you do, but like say if you're just a family who wants to live, have their house, have a car, raise their children in good schools, not be afraid of being raped when you are getting out of your house, and just live your regular normal life. it's not a bad place to live at all.
Okay.
These dictators provide pretty good security for their people.
Right.
But if you like morals and having freedom of speech and be able to talk about
building a business, probably capitalism, and like, don't they take
well, it's not necessary because, you know, Russia is pretty capitalistic, and so is China. You kind of can do some business there. You just go about it a bit differently. Like, instead of taxes, you might have to bribe people, but it's kind of, I mean, sometimes it's the same thing. You pay a big fee to the government for no reason, or you pay a government official so he can buy a Mercedes. It's like, you know, so I wouldn't go back to Russia, right? Okay. I mean, again,
all right. So you decide to leave California. What would be your top 3 looks? Whether it be internationally or domestically.
Right. So again, my dating life right now is kind of dictating that.
Okay.
So yeah, in America, it might just be either Detroit, Michigan, or Atlanta, Georgia. So that would be 2 here.
It's because of the dating pool and like the black girls that's who you like, and there's a lot of them there.
I mean, not just black girl. I want, you know, black educated woman who has a job and not a neck tattoo, you know, like so, and those are pretty good. Like, I've been to, for example, Detroit, and I think African American community there is very impressive and up and coming and educated. So
it's a car town too, so it's kind of.
And I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan on top of that.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, but they got winter. That's like one thing that I don't miss about Russia. So that might be,
dude.
But outside, you know, obviously, I would like to live in a country where people speak English. So,
I mean, that's huge.
You know, so either countries like, and you know, that also depends on the budget. You know, Germany, England, New Zealand, and maybe even Australia, right? Like. Italy, actually, or something like Philippines, or one of the Asian countries where you can live a very good life, have security, and be also in a old school culture type of a place, which always has pros and cons. You can argue that the American community has kind of gone away from the genders are kind of blurry, right? There is no, I would say, traditional roles as much. I think, for example, women don't need men don't really need women as much. Again, definitely Sacramento is a good showcase of that. It would be nice to be in a society where, like, almost everybody wants to be in a long-term relationship, whether it's marriage or, where here it's not the case at all. And I think it's moving away from that. Okay. So I would say those countries would be something I would consider. And Mexico.
Would you be able to do like your same work that you do now, like from any of these places?
Well, that's the beauty of being a YouTuber, right? I can live pretty much anywhere in the world where there is an internet connection.
Right.
I just need my, green screen behind me and the camera, and an internet connection. Obviously, I do travel to different electric car events.
Right.
So if I live in Philippines, it would be much harder than being in California and going to Silicon Valley or Los Angeles. But I'm thinking about it. Obviously, my number one choice would be meet a great girl, have her move here to Sacramento where I have my house already, and never mind the rest of the population here in Sacramento. That would be my number one choice.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. And it's just seems like a trend that everyone you hear in California is complaining about it. But yeah,
not everyone. When if you're getting help from the government, they're not complaining at all.
True, the homeless people. Oh man, it's been great. All right, so I got a last question for you. Last thought here. Are there? I know you said you don't like Joe Rogan, and then when I was talking to you before, you said you don't like Apple. Are there any other things that are universally loved that you hate?
So it's not that I don't like Apple. I just don't use Apple products. I think Apple has been a pioneer of. Apple's been a Tesla of technology. Yeah. If it wasn't for Apple, I wouldn't have this amazing Android phone, right?
They pushed it forward.
Absolutely. You think Google was going to make this if Apple didn't have an iPhone? Absolutely not. Also, I'm Audi wouldn't be making the amazing e-tron Sportback, which I like and actually shopping for one right now.
Okay.
Tesla didn't exist.
Right.
So it's not, I don't like the cult aspect of it, right? So for example, if I have this phone, but I want to have a smartwatch of a different company because Google doesn't make maybe Google doesn't make the smartwatch I like.
Right.
I can get a Samsung watch, and then I can also have an adapter that's made by 50 companies, and it could be cheap.
Like I'm not in the Apple cult or anything. But I have Apple products, and I'm racist against people with green text messages. Like it's always breaks up your conversation. It's not as like that's like the blue to blue text message on Apple's like iPhone to iPhone. It's nice. There's like, you can see who's typing, you can see certain emojis, you can do group messages nice. Whenever you get someone with an Android in a group message, it kind of messes it up. And that's just like, I don't care, but like that affects me. Like that's one of the things keeping me. Well, and they always screw me over with making a new charger, and I got to go get a new charger, and it pisses me off, but I still do it. So I can see how that's annoying.
But it's always at least most of the time it's Apple that pushes the boundary. Every time Samsung wants to come up with a new phone, they absolutely try to beat Apple. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. So I think Apple is extremely important. I absolutely want it to continue existing and producing amazing products. I just don't want to trust my entire environment that I live in to just one company.
That's fair.
Sometimes I want to buy cheap crap. Like, for example, the laptop that I travel with, where I just check my email when I'm on the road, it's a $300 laptop because that's what I use it for. But you can't buy it from Apple, right?
No.
So to me, it's like, well, I have to pay $1,000 for my email checker, and a monitor, and I don't want to do that. Where I can buy $300 one from HP. It's a complete piece of crap, but it absolutely does the job that I need it to. So I don't hate Apple at all. I actually think it's one of the most important tech companies out there. But I am a bit of a rebel, I have to say. I like rooting for an underdog. But I've almost in every category, I think it's the critical thinking in me. I always want to make sure that I fully explore and the other side.
I mean, that's smart. I like that about you. I'm kind of ripping on you a little bit with the Joe Rogan and the Apple thing, but that's one of the reasons I like talking to you. Like I like someone who's everyone likes that. I don't like it. Like I like that. It's a good trait, and like it could be like someone could be a prick about it, but like most of the time it's just a good critical thinking, and that's important.
And going back to electric car community, it's something that so I have two different conversations with people who drive like regular gas cars and people who drive electric cars. Are very different conversations to be had, but overall we are going to be moving towards electric cars. There will be other, and already are, electric cars that are either better in some ways or cheaper than Tesla. And I think the market will become what the smartphone market is right now.
Okay.
I don't know if Tesla will get beat as a leader. They're still very small, but definitely there will be, sort of a benchmark for everybody. But there will be a lot, and already on the market right now, great electric cars that are also very affordable. Actually, one of my newer sponsors is this company that makes $10,000 electric car brand new.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
$10,000.
Well, so it's after the tax credit, right? So it's but I mean, by the end of the day,
either way, cheap.
Well, I believe it's the cheapest car in America. I don't think you can buy even a gas car.
Yeah.
But listen, the max speed is 63 miles an hour. Ooh. So on the freeway, if you get in there, it has a range of like 80 miles. So you can only drive it. Well, me and you drive.
Yeah, but there's a market for it. There's a market for it.
But it's a 10,000, right? So Tesla's never going to touch that. Right. Yeah, Tesla's never going to touch that. And this company doesn't want to be a Tesla. They don't want to have self-driving and all.
They're finding their part of the market, and they're going to serve that need of a cheap, not so great electric car, but that'll some people will serve the need that they want.
Yeah. Like this company like Lucid that's just about to go in production, and they're offering something very similar, actually better than Tesla in some ways, in terms of range and other things, but they are going for a luxury interior, where Tesla is going more for minimalistic, high tech, and they're two different markets.
Right.
They don't need to compete. Like Audi e-tron is a very different car than the Tesla Model X for so many different reasons. They're not always competing for the same audience. Their audience is quite different.
Right.
People think that if it's electric car, it's always a competitor to Tesla, but it's a competitor to other gas cars.
Right. Yeah. You know? There's the car market, and then there's the electric car market. And as the electric car market grows, Tesla will probably be the biggest one, but there's places for other people. Yeah.
It's like this ID4 that I saw yesterday from Volkswagen. It's not going to compete with a Model Y. It's going to compete with a RAV4 and and other small SUVs, and might actually win if it's priced very reasonably and you don't have to buy gas. It has a lot of interesting features that regular gas cars don't have, and I think they will be taking people out of gas cars and putting this into this electric Volkswagen ID4.
Yeah, dude. Like, that's pretty much all I got, man. Like, this is exactly what I wanted to do with you. Like, I know they got a lot.
We can do this every day.
Right. Like, I love this. I know. I want to talk to you about the California stuff, and like we talk about the riots. We had a lot of amazing conversations there, and like I know that you are always talking about electric cars, and I remember you said last time you like coming on my podcast, and yeah, I mean I'm an entrepreneur podcast, but also like. Sometimes I try to be like Joe Rogan, where I just have cool people on and just shoot the shit about like interesting topics and stuff like that. And you definitely got me on that marriage thing too. Like I admit it that you said, and I like that you said I had the most honest answer because it's just true. Like I'm just like, yeah, I'm going along with society. But you really made me like kind of question that one.
Well, I think you're better than Joe Rogan, but again, in my head, that's a pretty low benchmark. So I'm just saying, I'm not sure if it's a compliment in my.
I'll take it as a compliment, and hopefully he's moderating the debates. But it's not going to happen. But
yes,
we'll see.
I hope so. But who knows? With this crazy world, it might just happen. And I think people want this. Like people may not know who Joe Rogan is, but I think this. They will be like, oh, it's not Anderson Cooper and it's not whoever Fox News moderator is.
Right.
Put him in. Put him in.
Yeah.
We don't care who he is, right?
Yeah.
So that might happen.
2020 has been a wild year. It's been bad in a lot of ways, but it's kind of been like exciting and like it's kind of like just the future is like coming and like all the businesses that were terrible that were going to fail anyway, they just failed now. And like, I feel like it's a good time to be young and hungry. And like, as the world's shaking up and you're right in the middle of it, it's like kind of excited about the future now.
Can I tell you, I think 2020, when we look back at it, is going to be either like the worst year for some people or the best year for others.
Yeah.
And I am from the very beginning was set to make that. I know it was going to be the difficult year. It's probably going to be one of the most difficult years of my life and a lot of other people's lives. But I am I think I'm on par to have this as one of the best years of my life in terms of what I did with my business, because I had no choice but to actually look into it and change things. I think I also got to appreciate a lot of things. I was able to spend more time with people otherwise I wouldn't have. I missed a lot of things, and I settled down in some of the things that I want out of life in the next few years.
Yeah.
And I think all of that, once we out of this pandemic, mainly sometime in the next year or so, I think I'm going to look at it as one of my best years. And I wonder if you feel the same.
I love that. I mean, yes, just on a bottom line numbers, this has been our best year ever. And we sell e-commerce products, so everyone's shopping online. We've been very lucky with all the small businesses that are in big trouble because of the pandemic. Our sales have gone up. Like May was one of our biggest months, and then we just had our biggest months of all time in August. So like we were growing anyway, but the pandemic, it didn't hurt us. It probably helped us. And we were able to stay operational because all our employees, they work at their own station. So it's like naturally distanced anyway. So yeah, we were lucky to stay operational and the business has been going great. And I think for a lot of people, like just breaking the routine, being stuck inside, having to reevaluate your life. I mean, every superhero movie, there's always a tragedy. And the tragedy is when you learn about yourself. Like I always say that, like tragedies are good. Like they suck when they're happening, but like bad things that happen are good in a way. It really makes you reevaluate and learn. Like even a few years ago, my business went through a bad stretch. We went through a bad term and like we had to fire half of our employees, and it ended up being the best thing ever because I actually learned how to run my business for real. I learned the real metrics, and I knew at the time when we were going through a bad stretch that I was like, while it was happening, I knew. I was like, this is bad, but bad is good, because I just learned before throughout learning about previous entrepreneurs, like bad things that happen, like, yes, they suck, but they ultimately almost always either relate in the death, which is good because then you can start a new chapter, or the new uprising of a company or life. Like, tragedy is part of life. And that's why all these California people who think everything's supposed to be perfect all the time and nothing's ever supposed to be hard. No, bad things are part of life. They're a natural part of life, and they're good. So for the world and for the country, this is shaking everyone up, and everyone had a terrible time and had to reevaluate their lives and figure out what they were doing. I hope for everyone, ultimately, there's a lot of positives to be found in it.
Yeah, I can totally relate. Like, my channel, like, in personal life, obviously, I think it's good for everybody to stop and just, but, business wise also, like, my channel was doing good,
Yeah.
and then, this happened, and obviously the views have gone down. My biggest sponsors actually just went belly up because of all of this. And, that was all of a sudden hard times. But what I did was I've reformatted the way I was doing my shows, how often I was doing my shows, how long they were, and how I was editing them, right? I would have never done that.
You were
because
forced.
I had a sponsor.
You were forced to.
Yeah, I was forced to. I had a
Right.
sponsor. I had to deliver so many views, and I was why change the format
Right.
and risk the views when I'm getting paid, right? And that's not just getting paid, but that's how I
Right.
shop for groceries, right?
Right. It's your
but
livelihood.
because but because I already ended up in the same situation where I could, now I reformatted my channel, which I think is actually going to come out of this more successful with more views. And now I literally, before going on the air with you, I sold my very last spot for sponsorship. I've never been in a position where
Congrats,
I cannot
man.
accept more money given to me and more sponsors. I'm literally scared that people will keep coming in, and I will be like, people who I've worked with for a
Dang.
long time. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have any more spots, ad
Dang.
spots to sell you on my show. I don't think this would have happened if I didn't have to get out of my comfort zone,
Right.
have to reevaluate my channel and my format. And my shows are such more quality. You know how I also know that my show is better quality is that my friends who just, at some point, they're not all electric car fans.
Right.
They watched, it was nice for a while, and then they, whatever, they had other things to do.
Right.
Some of my friends started telling me, I caught your show suddenly for once, and I thought it was great, and I started watching it again because the quality has gone up so much, and it's
Dang.
funnier.
And
more
they're
informative.
telling you the truth, so that kind of represents the whole market.
Yeah. Absolutely, and so I've gotten more positive comments, less negative comments, and but it would have never happened if it wasn't for the pandemic.
That is the positive that everyone has to look for.
Yeah.
You got to find the positives in everything, and these are genuinely positives. You actually had to go back and were forced to make your business better, and you made your business better, and now your business is better, and that is a good thing. So.
And it was hard, man. I'm sure when you go through this, you don't know things are going to get better. You just know things are crap.
Right.
And you don't know if you're going to lose your business.
You're nervous because you're making a shift, and that shift could be a total disaster, and then you got nothing, and then you're like, oh shit. But that's why you never would have done it in a normal scenario.
Yeah.
But you were forced to. So
a lot of people don't understand that business owners are very different in their heads because we cannot go and get another job.
No,
right. And a lot of times when you lose a business, you kind of lose everything.
Yeah.
So it's not like, it's okay. I'll, my resume, I'll update my resume and I'll go get another job. No, it's the end of an era or your life where you lose your business, and it's scary as hell. It's like being diagnosed. Well, I shouldn't probably say it, but
I see where you're going with that. But
yeah.
It's right. It's a big life event that is very tragic, and it's a huge deal. It's not like losing a job and getting another one in the same industry. And you said you had a couple employees.
So I have an assistant. When I travel, I need somebody to actually do a lot of logistics, but especially running the camera.
Okay.
When I'm interviewing people and stuff like that. So I have someone who essentially travels with me to this event. I'm also in process of hiring an editor. Because what I changed my show, instead of doing it live where you don't have to edit anything,
right.
I spend 20 hours a week just editing. And that's the time that I don't get to spend on planning other videos.
Right,
and
exactly. It's business.
Or going out on a date. Sometimes like, I can't go on a date on
right.
Saturday or Sunday because I'm editing.
Right.
So, so I'm hiring somebody to do that. It's extremely difficult because it's like,
hey, I got 15 employees, and it's always it's a whole world. It's a whole new world.
I know. It's like being a parent. It's like being a parent.
It really is. It really is. And then like when they don't show up, it's a big deal. Like it really hurts my production when people don't show up. But if I fire them, then I gotta like replace them, and like it's
people don't
challenge.
get it.
Yeah,
see, that's the thing. People look at
so
us
hard.
as mean bosses who fire people.
Oh God, no.
Right?
Yeah, no.
And they don't understand that firing an employee is worse for us than for the employee.
It's the worst thing to have to fire an employee, but sometimes you have to do it because you either want to set the tone or it's just inevitable. Like, it's a whole different world for an entrepreneur. When you don't have employees and when you do, it changes everything. And I have 15 now. I've been used to it. I actually hired someone to manage my employees recently, and that's a challenge because you expect them to be so good at it. And I have fun with it. I have fun with it, and I already have accepted my mind to know that things that are very hard, not shy away from them, go towards them. And I think that's a good way that I've set my mind up, and I think it's going to help me be successful. But it's hard. It's very difficult. And people don't get it. But when I'm flying over them with my jet one day, like I don't care how hard they know it was, and they'll whatever.
Hopefully, electrically powered jet.
Yeah. Is that a thing?
Well, actually, it's a thing because Bill Gates just dissed Elon Musk by saying this whole semi trucks and ships and airplanes powered by battery electric technology is not possible. Bill Gates is the guy who he decided to buy an electric car, and he decided to buy a Porsche Taycan, which is superior car to Tesla and almost all other cars in many ways, and costs 3 times as much. Right. So I respect him, but his choices on technology.
Yeah. Dude, it's awesome. It's a shaping market, and you're always going to be my go-to source for any of this stuff. So you'll be the one educating my audience and me about the electric cars and everything. And man, I love talking to you. Let's do it every once in a while.
Absolutely, man. This is always a blast. Like I never have 2 hours in my day to do anything. I've been trying to watch this movie that's 2 hours for like 3 months now, but when you guys told me let's talk for 2 hours about nothing really and everything, right. I was like, you know what? I do have 2 hours for that.
Exactly, and that's why I said it. Like we're right around 2 hours now, but I said it because like I've had a couple of podcasts lately where like I'm getting into a great flow of a conversation, and then they're like, I gotta go or I gotta run, and I was just trying to avoid that. I was just trying to make sure like we put the time aside to just like shoot the shit, and I think we nailed it, man. We nailed it. We're right at 2 hours. Great conversation, and again, always a blast talking to you.
Absolutely, man. And I love watching other guests on your podcast because like, I'm telling you, like I do enjoy your podcast. Like, so I really think that if anything, you should be as popular as Joe Rogan. Hey, but I hear he's pretty popular.
I'll take it. And he hears my guy Brandon behind the camera is laughing there. But I'll take it.
Why is Brandon laughing? What's the funny,
what were you laughing at, Brandon? Joking about Joe Rogan and stuff. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think he's just happy. I just think he's happy we're wrapping up. But,
I think he just got it. Sorry, Brandon. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, the podcast is the thing that's still growing for me. The business is the thing that's booming, but I'm sticking with it, man. And I have a lot of fun doing it. And talking to people like you, talking to different guests, it's a lot of fun for me. And if the podcast is successful down the road, then great. But okay, Brandon's giving me a note, but we're going to wrap it up here. And Alex Guberman, E for Electric. Everyone go check out his channel, the #1 electric car channel in the world. And thanks again for coming on, man. Peace out.
Of course, man. See you next time.
Later.